Hello, everyone watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify. It's another episode of NRG Insights. At the moment, we're doing a kind of mini series with people outside, inside the industry, if you like, people that help brokers and help them, particularly in their marketing. I think it's really important that we kind of get that across and see that the kind of ancillary products we have to brokerages. So today, I've got Ash Borland from Borland Consulting. How's it going?
Hey, Marcus. I'm very good, mate. I'm finally nice to actually speak to you, as we were saying off air.
Really nice to speak to you. Yeah, and also double thanks to Ash, as his wife has given birth this week, so he's very kindly come on, giving up some time, hiding in his little room so he can keep
soundproof room, mate. That's what this is. This is a soundproof room from a screaming toddler and a crying child.
You were so keen to get on today. I'm like, yeah, no, I can do any time, absolutely any time, from 3 a.m. till midnight.
Very much so.
But congratulations, genuinely.
Cheers, mate.
So let's just start with, talk to me about the kind of the journey that got you to here, to consulting with brokers, to the content marketing that you do for them. Yeah, talk to me about that.
Yeah, of course, Marcus. So yeah, first of all, say thanks for having me on. This is great. I've loved it. And I said I've observed you from afar, and I thought we knew each other beforehand, but we just realised that I ghosted you.
Just so anyone doesn't know, Ash has been ignoring me for 2 years, and he pretended we knew each other, and then
I thought we did. I haven't even told people I think you're great and I know you and he's wicked, and then I was like, actually, I don't know him. I've never spoken to him. Yeah. So how did I get into this? I'll give you the kind of cliff notes of it. But yeah, so I used to be my original background was I was a performer, musical theatre, so singing, acting, dancing, and I did a bit of fitness modeling as well. So like all the stuff that obviously is completely unrelated to what I do now, but kind of connected. Left that industry, and the only other thing I knew, my mum was in performing, my dad was in financial services, and he was head of compliance and training at Connell's at Just Mortgages at the time, which was back then called Mortgages Direct. So it was when they were DA. And then he moved over to Connell's. So he moved over to Connell's to be their kind of compliance and training director there. And so it was like, that's the only other route I knew. That was the only other career I knew. So I became an estate agent, then realized quite quickly, did that quite well, became an assistant manager there, loved it more than performing arts. And then realized, though, when I bought my own house, how hard it is to buy a house. I was that naive kid, that's like, this is super easy, and these are just figures and numbers on a spreadsheet. And then, yeah, I was just like, and then people would moan. I'd be like, why are they so upset? Why are they so annoyed? Like, just calm down. It's just. And then when I bought my own, I realized how much of a stressful impact that is on people's lives. And I thought then, as a career, what could I do? And I just kept going through that system and going, okay, well, the person that has the most impact is the mortgage broker. They seem to be the person that mine wasn't that great, but it was the person who can help. So
then you become a mortgage broker, and you realize it's the bastard solicitor that's slowing it all down.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I became a broker in Connell's, the larger corporates, and then did my training there. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Was a top performer there, but started to just think the grass is greener. Want to go on my own. And I went and joined an independent financial planning firm, which was a massive wake-up call for me, because it was like I came in as this very young guy to a very old established firm, as in like I must have brought the average age down massively. And funnily enough, you're saying you've had Roz on the podcast. That's how I met Roz. She was our BDM. And I met her way before all of this took place. She's even got photos of
me. Moved into similar industries.
Yeah, so I've known her for a while, and like she's even got photos of me and her like we're in the training. She would do the training sessions and stuff, and I was like there, like looking like the administrator to all these very old guys. And at that place, I realized, moving from a firm that was, from Connell's, where everything was just leads and everything was given to you. I moved into this independent firm where everybody had been doing it for 20, 30 years. And I didn't have any leads. Like I had no idea what I was doing. And that brought me to kind of what I'm doing today, is that I started to pick up a camera. I picked up a phone. One day I lost an introducer because I was a bit stubborn. I was just an idiot really as a kid. And I lost an introducer, and I didn't know what to do. And I was fed up of people like taking money from you. And I was like, what can I do? And my wife at the time, she's still my wife. But at the time, my wife said to me, she was like, she was on social media all the time. And I had never used social media. I'm that funny age where I'm old enough that social media young enough that social media came in when I was maybe in like uni, but not really enough that I wasn't at uni, but like at college.
How old are you, Ash?
Me, I'm 23. 23. Jeez, I'm a rough paper round.
That is a lie.
Yeah, is it 30, 32 is what I'm going to say. 23, 32. That's my ADHD flipping it. So 32. Yeah, 32. And I'm like that funny age where I grew up with it, but it was about 18, 19 when Facebook was really starting to become a thing. And I just didn't really like it. But I realized she was on it all the time. She was just on social media. And because I'd come from that performing arts and fitness world where it was already very big there, there's a guy called Jamie Alderton who I knew, and he'd done very well and extremely well, and still now is insanely successful. And so I was just like, okay, let's give it a crack. And that was it. I started making videos. And from there, it snowballed into this.
Selling it, teaching it.
Selling it, teaching it. Yeah, like realizing, teaching other people how to teach it. Like most of the coaches who do it now have had some connection with me in some way or another, whether it was like even Rosmi and Rosmi Shoot Up Me Redundant. We were talking through the do this. It's a good.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's been a whirlwind of something I never thought I would have done, but there was the combination of the two. The performing came in, the everything all hit. And that's kind of, we can dive into anything else you want to know, but I could go.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So obviously that transition, you were clearly one of the early adopters, right?
Like one of the top 3 or 4.
Really?
Yeah. So Gary Das, props to Gary, was the first from my experience. The people had done it, but there wasn't many who'd done it and it worked.
Yeah.
And so, like the other people noticed. There's obviously people who'd made videos and tried to, but there was not many people who'd done it and it actually worked.
It didn't work. Why do you think? What's the difference?
They didn't do it long enough. They didn't understand. As in, like, I think the difference was with me. The difference was I had nothing else to lose. Like it was literally like I had to make it work. It became an identity thing, and I think with Gary it was a similar one. With him, it was like Gary he was outside of the whole world of mortgages. He was his own DA firm on his own. No one didn't have any contact with anybody, so he could do what he wanted, say what he wanted. No one was telling him off. And for me, I was at this point where it was kind of like, and you can swear on this or not.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I was kind of at the point where I was just like, fuck it. If it doesn't work, then I'll go and do something else. I'll go back and be an estate agent. I was a good estate agent. So I think everybody else was hiding behind compliance.
Yeah.
And for me, it was that. And I'm sure you've had it in yours, Marcus, there's points in your life where it's like your back is against the wall and it's like, it's this or nothing. Like,
I've burned the boats a long time ago. Burned the boats behind me. There's no plan B. But I actually think that's amazing. I think having a plan B does kind of restrict you a little bit in like, oh, you don't have to worry. Like, this is it for me. If this doesn't work, then you don't know what you do, which is amazing.
It didn't work as well, by the way, for a long time. Like it didn't work easily. I remember
completely.
I burnt many boats on that way through, like a lot of bridges as well between people. It was really wrong. Back then, I was right. My dad was the worst one.
Sorry to jump. Do you think it was connected to that people didn't understand return on investment of social media?
Yeah.
Or do you think we didn't get as many leads then because it wasn't people weren't
Both.
looking like YouTube wasn't the second biggest search engine, was it? And that was so.
Yeah, I think it's both. Well, yeah? I think it's both. I think that the financial services industry as a whole is incredibly old. As in, like, if you look at the average age of people, that is a problem that we have in the industry, is that it is top heavy with older people, which, by the way, I love all you older people because you're my clients. So there's nothing wrong with that.
I do think, like, props to people who, I'm 41. And
that's not old. Older.
What I mean is I didn't grow up with social media. So I felt like a tit when you had to do it.
Yeah.
Because the first thing I saw of it as blokes in a gym videoing themselves. And I thought, they're dicks.
Yeah, that's what.
Do you know what I mean? So that was my first sort of dip into social media is people doing that, and that didn't sit with like when I was younger. People didn't do that.
That was mine. I had to fight that. It was like it was this idea of how do you get over that, and I think that's what I got for a long time. So like my dad was like my biggest critic of it. Like I remember the firm I worked with at the time, because I then went my own and went and set up my own brand and all that stuff, and until eventually did this. Yeah. And my dad. I remember my boss at the time going, you don't know what you're talking about. You've been a broker for like a year and we've been doing it for 25 years. And I remember thinking, who the fuck do you think you are telling me that? And I remember going back to my parents to have some dinner with them. And I was like, he said this. And my mum was like, oh, don't listen to him, blah, blah, blah. And my dad was like, he's right. And at that moment, that was the moment where I was like, fuck you. I'll show you.
Really interesting, actually.
And my dad's good, but that was the moment I was like, no, you're wrong.
But the interesting thing about people saying like like for instance, I talk about mortgage brokers all the time, and there are mortgage brokers vastly more educated on mortgages than me. However, they're talking about a product. They don't have to be better than the next mortgage broker. They're talking about a product for their clients. For years' experience, you are vastly more experienced than the person you're aiming at. You're not aiming at your fucking colleague who has been doing it 25 years, right? You're aiming at the guy that doesn't understand what the pain points are in a mortgage that you can solve.
Yeah.
So
I call it top of funnel content. You're looking at the top of the funnel. That's all you're answering. You're literally saying there's like 10 questions for mortgage brokers. It's literally, how much can I borrow? Can I get a mortgage with bad credit? Like I do this in my blueprint. It's like there's only 10 questions.
Yeah.
So you don't need to. And I see this all the time. And it's like the swap rates, the LIBOR. No one gives a shit. No one.
That's for each other, right? That is just
most content. Most mortgage brokers' content, you say, why does it not work? Most mortgage brokers' content is like a training course for other mortgage brokers. Yeah. It's not like it's other mortgage brokers.
Do you think that is, sorry,
yeah, go for it. Apologies. I love it.
Do you think that is an industry issue? Because I only work with mortgage brokers, right? So I don't know any other industry. Yep. So I don't know if every industry is a bit broken that they all kind of talk to each other rather than their clients. Or do you think that's quite a mortgage specific issue with marketing, that we market to each other weirdly?
It's definitely, I now pretty much only work in financial services, but I have worked in different sectors. It's more mortgage broker than anywhere else. Like, if I'm honest, it seems to be that. And I think it's a combination of regulation, fear of regulation, and also genuine regulation, because some of the stuff that the FCA, or not really FCA, but the networks put on us that they have to conform. Some of the stuff is ridiculous, and some of it's very just as well. But it is most of it's stupid. Like, I would like, and I don't affiliate with any network individually, so I don't mind. But it's one of those where, like, I think that it's an industry thing. It's also an industry thing of trying to prove that they're better. They always try to compete, and there's so much business. You don't need to compete because there's more than enough.
I'm competing with you because I know I say LIBOR rate. Then that's old. the Sonia rates and stuff is not relevant because, like you say, your customers don't care. They want to know how they can get their mortgage when they've missed the 2 payments last year.
I always remember this saying Gary Das earlier. So me and him do a similar job, and I like Gary. We're good friends, and I always, the penny drop moment for me with doing this business was I knew a lot about behavioral psychology. I went deep into understanding this stuff. There is really, to be honest, not many people, in fact, no one really in the industry that I've met who knows as much about this. But by the way, that doesn't make it any relevant because it still is the top surface stuff that people need. I can go deep into behavioral psychology, my mentor of behavioral economics, none of that stuff. It influences it, but it's not that important. And I remember thinking, why were people signing up to Gary's program? And I've got this big in-depth thing about like how the brain works and how this does and how you can use these things. And Gary's teaching you how to upload a photo to your Facebook. And I'm thinking, what? And then I was like, because I've misunderstood. This was years ago. I was like, I've misunderstood it. I'm thinking that you need to know as much as me, and you don't. You don't need to know anywhere, like a tenth, not even that.
I think it does help that you're very knowledgeable. I think that does when you're marketing yourself. Because, like, for instance, recruitment is recruitment. For instance, we're the best at what we do. However, the one thing we do, lots of people can copy, but it's everything else. So it's like the behavioural stuff we learn about and the deeper side of it. Like, that's what makes you really good at it. Actually, our clients just care about commercial downtime and saving them money.
That's it.
So I'll be like, oh yeah, but I want to talk to you about drive, and they go, just put it in the report and give me the person. So
that is true. That is a big problem. It's a big problem. I think that's like one of those. But it's fine. And as you say, I don't think it's a negative. And I think the industry is getting better for it. But we definitely do see more people worrying about like they do the wrong type of content. They worry what people think. And one thing I'd say about what I found was when I did it, I didn't know anything about mortgages really. I'd just done my training. I was a typical Connell's advisor, small panel, one lender, fine, high top achiever in my group, but like not really like one of the top achievers. I was a top newcomer. There were much better people in there in my team than me. I just in that one bracket. But
like you said, the technical side of it.
I didn't know much. Like I didn't know much. But what was really interesting was I made a pact of making a video every day. And I made a video on things I didn't know. And what was really weird was in that room a year later with all these people in the room of in this like IFA firm, they were talking about something and they said, well, and this is just an example of it, but it was like, should you, the pros and cons to interest only. It was just this big meeting we were having. And I just said, they were go back and forth. And I said, well, interest only, would make sense from a buy-to-let perspective. This was years ago, so it might not be right now, but it was like
Yeah.
interest only, given a caveat before I get slammed for all that. But it was like interest only. I remember going like, well, interest only also, if you think about it in line with inflation, it's actually like what is called eroding interest, meaning that if you borrow £50,000 now and you do it on interest only for 40 years, £50,000 in 40 years time is not the same as £50,000 now.
Yeah.
So even if you pay it off, and I just went off on this, and these guys, they turned around, they were like, what? Where did that come from? What? I've never heard of that. I thought about that. And then I was like, and they were like, how do you know that? And I went, fuck, how do I know that? And then that was that moment I was like, oh, wait a minute. The videos every day. It's because the videos, if you do something every day and you do it daily, then you become good at it. And that's when I realized, and that was the shift moment of like, oh, wait a minute, if you do anything every single day, you'll get very good at it. And that was it. Then the rest of it is history. You know, there everything else we teach.
Do you think about doing it every day, right? And this is kind of a close question because I think we all know the answer. But because we are salespeople at heart, brokers, recruiters, whatever, you know, estate agents, and so we understand that you get a lead in, you convert it. That's how we make money. Because it's very transactional. Yeah. But because of social media, you can't stick an ROI on it. You can't genuinely go. It's so long term. It is a great feeling to know that everyone knows who you are, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? It doesn't convert straight away. So, or do you think that is part of the issue? Is that we're so trained into what sales is that X plus Y equals, rather than actually this is a long term thing. Someone's going to find you later on when you need it.
Huge problem. It's a huge problem, and one that like I don't have to battle against it now. I've done it long enough. I've done it like coming up to 5 years of doing this specific thing. Like I've been doing that. So the proof is there. But gosh, the first couple of years trying to say to people, like when people come on a discovery call with me, which is now is like waiting lists and stuff. But if you get on a discovery call and you want to talk, it's like, I'll say to them straight away, you're not going to get anything for 18 months. So you got to pay me every month for 18 months. And every time you say, oh, I'm not getting it, I'm going to tell you to shut the fuck up, because that's the way that it's very harsh, tough love, the people I work with.
But they have to accept that, right? Because otherwise on month 2, they're going to go, God, that's X amount of pounds and I haven't seen anything back. Like, it is a long game.
Thousands, people who will work with me, you could be down thousands and thousands before you see anything from it. Yeah. But the ones who have, get that 10x, like the results of like some of the clients afterwards. And that, by the way, is the thing that's not me pitching it. I didn't know that was going to happen. Originally, like a lot of this,
but it's first one of the first, right? So what you were doing first, if you're the pioneer in it, you can't say, oh, this is a case study, because no one did it.
I didn't know. And so it was only maybe about a year ago where I had a proper method. A year ago is where it was. And I was actually saying this to Craig Skelton, actually, just before this, we had a call. And I was saying like, there was a shift when I was like, I can take anybody through this method now. But a lot of people have had to fail or get halfway there in order to get to that point. Now I am very confident going, okay, if you come with me, then we can get you through this over a certain time, this specific time horizon, you do that, it'll work. But it didn't start like that. And and a lot of it is, and I remember Carla Edwards, who's my longest client and one of my most successful client. And oh, she's insane. Yeah. She does like crazy stuff. And we've worked together for 4 and a bit years. And she said to me, when I signed her up, I was like, it's going to take you 18 months. And, you know, you're going to pay me this much at the time, X amount every month for the next 18 months for nothing. And she jokes about the time. She was like, I remember getting off that call and I signed it, but I thought, you lying bastard. Like, he's just a robber. He's just going to try and she said, and I said, well, why did you, because we didn't know each other. Now we're very close, but we didn't. And she was like, well, why? I was like, why did you do the work? And she said, because I don't do refunds, because that's just not the way it works in the coaching space. And I was like, but she was like, I did everything you said because I wanted to, in 18 months to say to you, you're going to give me that money back because you lied. And then about a year in, she was like, had like quadrupled her income. And she was like, yeah, you're right. And now it's way more than that. Like, it's insane. But that was the funny thing of like doing things daily. So her motivation might have been to prove me wrong, but it still worked, you know. It was, and that was the fundamental.
To be said for like, so I've been with a business coach and I've been with a few, and they're always, I would rather pay for a top end business coach where I can barely afford it, and because that gives me that massive motivation to go, do you know what? You better implement it because they're costing you cash. So it's too easy to do something for free, isn't it? It's too easy to not do something for free.
Yeah,
that's the trouble. As easy
much.
as something is, it's as easy not to do it, isn't it? So actually,
it is. Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, when I invested in a coach myself, like I was, again, you got to put your money where your mouth is. I didn't have a coach for a long time. I think that's what caused my business problems, because I didn't see the value in the thing I was trying to sell. I saw the value.
Ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ironic, because we sell that. Like, why are you doing your own recruitment? It's fucking bizarre that you would have an accountant, a solicitor, and then you're just winging the most important thing you ever do. And then I didn't do it for my business. It's cobbler shoes stuff, isn't it?
You didn't get a recruiter. Yeah, it's mad. And and then I remember my guys, like, it's reframed everything now. The way I look at everything, like my fees. I look at my hourly. I don't do hourly rate, but I will work out into hourly rates. And so whenever I go and do something like go to a private doctor or anything like that, I'm like, is this guy way more professional than I am? Yes. And he's charging me a tenth of what I might charge you for an hour. Don't be this is stupid, pay the money. I think sometimes because I'd come from, I think, a younger, more, I think one of the biggest myths I had is that I think people, and this gets people's goats up, so I don't want to piss people off, but it's like that money's hard to make, because it's not very hard to make when you know how to make it. Once you become valuable, it's actually hard to well,
that's the important thing, right? Is the adding value bit, because there's so many of us, of every industry, of everything. So you're right. Well, if you can confidently add value in something and confidently, funny enough, we were talking about fees yesterday online with someone. I think they're trying to troll me, but
fees is always people. I like fees, but people get a bit funny about fees.
I just think it's ridiculous. If you can't see the return on investment, that's cool, but we're in the same industry, so it's classless to talk about other people's fees. But anyway, I won't edit that bit out.
I just keep it in. I agree.
My point was that you'll never be as good as me because you don't believe that you can charge enough. And if you don't charge enough, you'll never work as hard to be as good as you can be. It's a revolving thing. The best people charge money because they're really good at it, and you have to justify what you charge. So
I won't work with brokers who don't charge fees. And I realized that, again, it's all about data. I realized that I had a discovery call with a broker who didn't charge fees, and he was doing super well. He was doing well, but he didn't charge fees, and he was super not a fit, like, in regards to like the way that, like a value fit. It just was not a value fit. I was thinking, why do I think you're a bit of a dick? And he's probably thinking the same about me. He was with the two of us. Just wasn't.
I was saying, I've got 3 clients who don't charge fees. And I say to them at the beginning of the discovery call, by the way, I don't have many clients that don't charge fees. I'm not sure if that's because you don't see the value in it, but just to let you know, like, I hope you do. And then all of my non-fee charging ones are very high performing non-fee.
And there'll be a reason then, isn't it? It's their business model. Like, and I'm all cool for, I think people, I don't care about anything. Like, I'm one of those people go like, you think this. I'm like, I don't think anything. I like, do what you want to do. But what I do, and I was chatting to this actually with one of my competitors, who I'm friends with nearly all my competitors, is your job is to stick a flag in the ground and anchor to why yours is the right thing. And what I feel with many people who don't charge fees as brokers is that their argument is weak. So it's this thing of like, well, you get paid by the lender. No, you don't. You get a proculation fee. It's a different thing. So that's a load of bollocks. And then the second one, it all comes down to, you're scared of losing the business. So if we've got to get rid of the fear, we've got to remove the fear.
Like, no one wins the race to the bottom. No one wins. Exactly. But just the whole thing about yesterday, I won't harp on about it. It annoyed me for a minute. But I just said, we were talking about it in the office, and everyone else was saying, don't respond.
And then you're like,
but I'm like, but you're right. I said, imagine us coming to work and our USP is we're the cheapest. What a shit place to work.
That's
I haven't got the setup that you have. I have to make my own noises. But, do you know what I mean? It's just imagine that's your USP. Like, come work for me. Like, for instance, I was talking to Roz, and she said, "Oh no, we were talking," and I said, "A lot of people say to me, oh, everyone knows who your clients are because you're really open about it, and you're on podcasts with them and stuff like that. Does that not bother you?" And I was like, "But they're not with me because I'm cheap. So if someone can phone them up and take them off because they're offering less, that's not on me. That's not them. That's on me, right? I'm not doing the right job." So
I agree. I interview Roz's clients on my podcast all the time because I also believe this, and this is some of the things with mine, is like, I want to change the industry. Not like I want to change the industry, but I want to. That's my thing. I've hit a list, and I'm not going to change the industry. We need more. We need, so like Roz is a great example of this. I love what she does, and I think what she does is fills a gap that I don't fill. I think it's such a good thing, and it all ships rise
Same
on a
thing
high
like
tide.
you yesterday, actually. I'm starting to figure you've all been talking to each other before you.
Oh, did she say the same thing? Yeah, she will do because we go way back, you know, like Craig Skell and all these people. Like, I think that they are like every time Roz speaks at an event, it brings forward what we do into the light. That's exactly what it is. Every time I interview somebody on a podcast, it brings her service forward and becomes more, so that they don't get laughed out the room like I did like years ago. It's not, so it's more and more like that. So I'm not going to do it on my own. It's all faces, all races, all ages. We need everybody, because that's how it works.
It's similar, and obviously it's the same for brokers, right? Your biggest competition isn't actually my competitors, who are my worthy competitors. They're shit recruiters. That's my biggest competition, because it brings recruitment into a light of, oh, it's just, this is how it's done, and you're all the same. And actually, so you're absolutely right. The more quality people you can get around you as your competitors, the better.
That's actually really good.
Argue about why recruitment shit. I don't have to do that, because
that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. There is, like, let's take Roz because she's on there. Roz is not my competitor, and clients of mine have gone to her, and clients of hers have gone to mine, and that's what happens. And as the same with Gary and with Dan and all the other people, they move around. They do. That's what happens till they find the right fit. And the success of any client of mine, this is a great one. I have a client called John who's doing very well, who was Roz's client originally. We were only doing well because we built upon the foundations in which Roz did. You know, it wasn't like I just took the stuff and went, she's rubbish. It's like, you know, you build upon it.
This is what we do.
And then it works. And I think, but as you say, the best, our biggest competitors are the people outside of the industry. So if you're looking at recruiters, like you say, recruiters who do everything, who come and go, well, yeah, we can place that. Yeah. Mine is the same thing. It's like the ones who are like, yeah, I'm a business coach. I'm like, but for what? Or I'm you know, like a social media coach for everything, or a social media provider. Like, we make the social media for you, and they don't understand regulation. They don't understand, and they are our problem, not us.
No,
like,
not quality.
Not at all.
No, absolutely. No, it's just that can make complete sense. Yeah, people, and then they'll say, well, but they're only doing it for this. And you go, but they don't understand you, and you won't know this. I also had the same conversation with someone earlier on, because they're using a cheap recruitment model, and I know the MD, and I know he's just always done it. You know, he's a bit long in the tooth. And I said, listen, I have no problem with you going around that route, because most of my clients who are happy to pay what they pay this end have tried that. They first tried to do it themselves. They then used a generalist, and then use someone who's a bit, and then they use us. So that's cool. You're on that journey, and I'm not going to be a dick about it. We're more expensive than what you're doing at the moment. You're not finding the right people, but you'll get there. So I think, like, everyone is a potential client later on if they're just on that journey. They're just not ready for you yet.
Knowing that client journey is really important. There's a guy that I got to know quite well called Mike Kim, who's like a US leading personal brand expert. He's very successful, and I remember him coming on my podcast the first time. Not my show, but the original old show I used to do. And he said to me, like, what you're going to do if you're going to do it well. He said, like, it took me 5 years to be successful. He said, to get it to actually take off. And he said, because what you'll find is, if you're doing it true and you're being honest and not doing the right job, he said, everyone is going to undercut you. They're going to promise the world. And he said, but if you keep doing what you're doing, they'll inevitably come to you at the end. Yeah. And they'll be paying you more than they were quoted 5 years earlier. And he said, and that becomes your client journey. And I realized that with me I needed people to have gone to people like other group coaching programs. They needed to be in a group coaching program or outsourced it themselves, and realized that it wasn't, or bought leads. They had to do all of them, because then they were anchored to understanding exactly how much that costs and what it costs for crap results. So what it costs for, so then whenever they worked with me, it then looked cheaper even, because it was like, well, I thought you'd need more.
It's so much easier to sell our value when someone's been through the journey.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love people at the beginning when they just be smart.
And use you. But then the only thing with that, if you get them at the beginning, and I found this myself now, is if I get people at the beginning, they're then quite easily enticed to other things.
They assume this is the quality of everyone. This is recruitment. And you go, oh, you should have done, everyone else was shit before you.
And I think that's the same for brokers, by the way. I think brokers, people are always looking for first-time buyers. I don't think that's a good market to go after. I think you shouldn't go for first-time buyers. You should be going after people. They have small mortgages. They don't have much pain in regards to what they need to do. They can stay at home with mum and dad if they want to. They are this oversaturated industry that people target all the time. You should be focusing on people who've done it once before, and that they've done it already, and that actually they had a bad experience because they've got something to compare to. Because if they're coming to you, you can make it so much better that they'll refer you and rave about you all the time.
The reason I love the first time buyer market is because it's that journey of for life for someone. I think that's got nice. It's
Well,
like
that was my original niche. But
I like building a one-man band up, and then we go into their office when there's 12, 15 people, and I think, I did that. I know I didn't, but you know what I mean.
It's sweet, but I did it myself, but that was the first time buyer thing was, I thought, this is like one of those things. There's two things that I'm going off on a rant now, but like there are two things that are I'm doing this long enough to know, like, you're not unique if you think you're doing this. And brokers do, they'll go, I've got this great idea. Two ones. First one is financial education. I love it when people do this. They go, nobody's doing financial education. And I'm like, everyone's doing fucking financial education, like everyone. And I see it all the time. And they come to me like, this idea. I've got this new idea. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, don't do financial education. Like, you're a mortgage broker.
I think it's part of the pillars of it, though. Just like the authority. So, do you just think not to avoid it altogether?
I don't think you should talk about it. So I'm a big advocate of become an expert in one thing and then de-niche after that. So I don't know, niching is I don't mean like work with a specific market, but what I mean is that when I work with somebody, what we do is focus on, for those 18 months, it literally is do the same thing over and over and over. So if you're wanting to reach local people with, local purchase business, then just talk about local purchase business over and over and over, because you have to become known for it. Once you're known for it, you can then talk about other things. So like with mine is marketing, but I do talk now about some business systems and processes, because that's stuff that I've done and we've built over the years, but they're the peripheral.
I do think that's a value add as well, right? To talk about business, because I talk about business, I talk about leadership, I talk about those sort of things as well. I rarely talk about recruitment, actually, because I think.
But you have established yourself as a person that go. So you're a different person along that train, because if I take you're somebody, I know who you are. Like I was saying to you, I was talking to one of your competitors and was like, well, you need to go. Marcus is the guy you need to speak to because he's the number one, and that is so you can get away with, and not just get away with, you will benefit from talking about a breadth of things, because it makes you look more of a rounded person. And I've had to do that now, because it's like what got me here won't get me there type of thing. Like originally it was just mortgages, marketing. And now it's like, oh yeah, okay, I do these other things as well. And so, but at the beginning, the mistake people make is that they talk about one thing. And so one of them, like I said, is financial education. When I mean financial education, though, is more trying to teach people like budgeting and things like that. And the best one is going into schools and doing it and thinking and it's like absolutely fine, by the way.
Ash. Yeah, all these people giving up their time to go into schools. And
go and do it. Do you know what? Go and do it. It's absolutely fine. But don't think and do not kid yourself to think that's going to generate you any business. I love it when people do it and they go, well, they'll do the mortgage. Do you I remember being at school. Do you think I'm going? Old. Yeah, they won't use you. They're not going to do. If your job is to actually, if you can't, this is what I mean is, if you can't go and make social media, and you can't go 18 months without any delayed gratification because you need the lead now, why the fuck are you going into a school and talking to 13-year-old kids like that? It just don't even make sense. And yet people go, I'm doing that. I'm using that time. I think you could have used that time and gone to all these networking. You could have started a podcast.
I think some people are doing it to give back, but I know what you mean.
Bollocks. Like, it's not true. And it's fine. And by the way, if you want to do it to give back, I like that. And I'm saying bollocks. I like that. But don't. My thing, and this is what people get. I'm very honest about this stuff.
No, I love it. It's just because you won't do a social media post, but you'll wait for that kid to go all the way through puberty.
The average,
go through the next bit.
The average age of a first-time buyer is like in their 30s. Like, you won't even be in the industry. Do you even? No disrespect. This industry probably won't even exist. It'll be AI by that point. Like, we're not even thinking about it. It's ridiculous.
Do you honestly think that about AI? I think, right, because I can spot AI posts. I think I can. Maybe some people are just fucking boring, but I think I can spot it because it's got a certain structure. And I know AI is getting smarter, but if you've got stuff like, I get like vanilla mortgages, but there aren't many vanilla mortgages. Mm-hmm. But for me, I think mortgages and recruitment are very similar because they're emotionally led, right? You're buying a property, it's emotional. And I don't think AI can handle the emotional side of the sale yet. Like but can they?
I guarantee, yeah.
What they can learn the emotion. Like, I don't think they can read my face.
Yet.
So you think that?
So yeah, so the word is that
AI can't understand the love I have for the kids that I want to house, and that's what you work.
I think
right?
yet, and this is where it sounds so silly, and I'm very into AI. I think you're right. So first of all, you spot the AI post a mile away. I use AI for most of my content, but I don't. So I'm
joking.
What'd you say?
I just spotted it. No, I didn't.
Yeah, no. So the difference in my AI content is none of my content is ever generated via AI. It is. I use prompts to make it more structurally useful per platform. So there's ways in using AI, and I'm a big advocate of that. But I can spot an AI post a mile away because I spend all my time on them, and you can spot some of them with comments. Sometimes I'll do AI comments and I'm like, they are really, really, really like long and laborious, and they are. Spot on is a big one. If someone says spot on, that's AI all the time. AI generates.
I say amen to everything. Someone pointed it out the other day, and I said, "Look,
you say amen."
Yeah, and then I think, oh God, maybe if I.
So I do a lot of exclamation
marks.
Amen, right? I say a lot of exclamation marks, and I do a lot of like the pray hands, and I say mate a lot. So in my prompts in AI, it says, "Please, can you make sure you include mate, pray hands?" And so you can prompt
pray hands and my amen. I thought I'd be busting. I swear in mine, so I don't know if that counts.
I know you could do that, but yeah. So what do I think about AI? I think that AI is an interesting one. It's the dumbest it's ever going to be right now. So we have to remember that right now, what AI is the dumbest it's ever going to be. And yet it is also improving at such a rate.
Content than us.
It still writes better. And that's what I mean and it's not using video yet. And I remember I was at an industry event, and it was for intermediaries. So it wasn't for brokers. It was for the intermediaries. I messed up. I went to the wrong event. All right. I was at the back of the room thinking, what the hell am I doing here? I had no idea what this is. I was that was one of those moments where I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, I really messed up. But there was a guy that got up and they were talking about it, and they were talking about AI, and they were going, well, an AI can't replace this and it can't replace that. And I watched that thinking, and this comes from a person of, think about what we said right at the beginning of this. Everybody thought what I was doing was not going to work. Yeah, it wasn't that I was some sort of amazing person. It was that time was changing it, and it was going to come. And it's that, I love that Eric Hoffer quote, which is, in a world of change, the learners shall inherit the earth, whereas the learned will be perfectly equipped for the world that no longer exists. Yeah. And I think that I feel it again. It feels like what made me successful was going, there's a new wave coming in. I need to jump on it now. Yeah. And I feel like AI, it's what it can do, what it can actually do. Not just ChatGPT is like a 1% of what it actually can do. And so, yeah.
We've got the deep fakes videos of ourselves.
Mate, it can write, it can read your emotion and tell you way more it's the thing with it is regulation is stopping a lot of it from coming into play. And financial services, I think, is very safe, if I'm completely honest, because of that. For at least a decade. I don't think it's going to remove. Yeah, I don't think it's going to remove our industry. I think it will enhance our industry. But where I do think is that I think that you if I was a broker or anyone like yourself, like me, understand the technology and learn how to use it, and understand
we use ChatGPT. We use AI, but for the laborious stuff that goes on in the background, like nothing you see from us is ever computer generated, but all our boring, our files and our job specs and that kind of thing, all the notes that come back from when we have meetings and that kind of thing, all of that stuff is generated. So that, I think it's a really good taskmaster for us at the moment. I don't think they will ever take me away, but who knows? But
it might. So it won't take you away. So that's the big thing. Is for me, all my posts start with a video. So all of my content starts with me talking, saying what I think about something, and then that transcription is then turned and but I never would ever, I don't at this point would let it do that on its own, unless this will be coming, whether it's this year or next, unless you have a model, because Descript does something similar to this already. But if you can teach it by uploading all your existing podcasts, and it says, can you write me a piece of content around what I would think about this? If it's got hundreds of hours, because Descript already does this, where it can talk for you.
Does it look through your previous content? If you say, right, it is me, will it look through my LinkedIn, like stuff I've written and go?
Not right now, but it exists to do that, yes.
Wow.
So like Descript, I don't know if you've used Descript or not, but Descript is like an editor, and you can train it to talk for you.
Right.
So you can upload a blog and then it can just talk as it's you. And the longer you train it, the completely accurate, you can't tell.
You don't need another one of me. I don't think I would like to train anything to my
I mean, that one probably wouldn't shit on like mine probably wouldn't shit on like the whole like education thing the way I do. That's the difference. Like the stuff I say, it'd be a better version of me. I always get on these and say stuff. People always say, God, I can't believe you sound like, well, I don't mean to be.
No, I know what you mean as well. Like there's nothing wrong with it. This is like a safe space, right? Because this goes to everybody else. This goes out to brokers, so we can all look at ourselves. And Ross said something yesterday. She said, I don't want to be disparaging. I said, this is fine, right? Because we're all in this together. We're all learning stuff. And all these are the purpose of these is to make brokers get a little bit of information that makes them slightly better. So I don't think there's anything wrong with voicing strong opinions. I think really important.
For me, I think it's about making sure that you are, like, I share my honest opinion at that point, and I'm very open about like when things change, and like I said this one time and I maybe disagree now, but I think that I know for myself nothing's ever been good. If someone goes like, do you think this is good? Yeah, I think it's great. And then it's like, like I don't, it doesn't help anybody.
Mate, you not feel right inside when you go, I don't think that's great, but I didn't want to say it.
I mean, I've done it before. I have done it the first year of doing this. I did that. I would be very like, people would go to me, like, I know you need to do it every day. I know how much you need to do the content. And then they go, well, I don't have enough time. I'm going to do it this way. And I'm like, okay.
Cool.
And then there was a reason why about 100 people in the first year did really well. And like, there was only Carla left. There was like, most people didn't do very well because they were not doing. And I got to a point where I was like, you're going to do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're paying me for. And I think that there's an element of, and then it was an element of looking at yourself in the mirror and going, so that means, Ash, you got to be a big boy, pull your pants up and tell and be happy to offend. It's okay to do that. Like,
I
just
think
don't be rude.
Challenge, we always use the term challenge, right? Because we know, without being egotistical, we've helped scale good mortgage brokerages. So when someone's telling us what they want, and it's a two-man brokerage, this is what I find frustrating about cheap recruitment, is that they just take that order and go, okay, cool. And I'll go, look, I know you might not want to hear this, you might do, I've got to tell you this. That has never worked. This has worked, and it's just a small tweak. But take that on board. I'm not telling you, I'm not your life coach, but as someone who has built businesses for years,
I've not seen that work. Yeah.
Like, so it's like, and they'll be like, no, I think it works like this. Go, okay, cool. We can't do that for you because it's unsellable to someone. So we can only work with you if it's a feasible position, and they don't think it is. And some people take it on board and are brilliant, and they are our future clients. Like the same thing. If my accountant tells me stop doing this, do this, I'll listen because she knows more than me. Or,
I think it takes a while though to do, doesn't it? I think it takes a while to do.
But also there's that fear at the beginning of losing clients, right? No one wants to do
oh my gosh, massively. Yeah. I mean, I felt like that for a while. I brought a waiting list in about 6 months ago, and I was thinking I was chatting to Craig Skelton about it, saying that was really awkward. You have this awkward thing of, do you speak to people but don't have any space for them?
Yeah.
Or and that, upset quite a lot of people, because it's like, how do you do that? How do
you can't, it's not just leaving money on the table, it's dropping your service levels if you take on everyone. So the benefit of challenging people when they come back and they're interested, and it is relevant to brokers and anyone really. If you are happy to lose a customer who isn't doing the right thing, you gain more of your people. Imagine if I said yes to every mortgage brokerage that came on with a discovery call, I would be flooded with shit jobs that I couldn't fill. I'd have no customer service level, no brand, and you'd just be another one of those guys going, oh yeah, we occasionally receive a CV.
Well, you get a like, and I always look at this as like, you improve by doing reps. It's like anything like the gym or anything. So everything is a rep. And I think the thing with business, in everybody's business and brokers, it's exactly the same. It's defining what that rep is. So for me, I know my rep is, one rep is 18 months. I need that's one rep. And until that client has gone through the basics, understood how to do it, we've got some results posts coming in from them, we've got some, a video testimonial, that is one rep. And until that person has done that, I can't bring another person in.
Yeah.
Well, until they've done that circle. And this is something that people, I think this is why people can be spinning their plate, like, or like spinning their wheels, is that they don't know what that full rep is. So they'll be halfway through it and go, oh, I'll pick another business and another business. And I know, like with me, it's 22 people. 22 people I can manage and get them all to where they need to be in 18 months. 23 is too much. 25 is too much. It's just too much. And I think that there's an element of that, of knowing how you get them through. And I think that's for anything, anyone. My sister's a school teacher, and so don't all you bombard her with messages to try and go and financially educate. But she's a school teacher, and I said this to her. I was like, she was saying, we were chatting about it, and she was like, well, I need to get promoted. She's a head of year, and she wants to become like a head of like a deputy head. And I said, well, what do they look at? And she was like, well, it's 1 year. They look at 1 year. That's your, you've got to get them from the beginning to the end. She said, and then really we need 4 or 5 years to show that you can do it consistently. Yeah. So I was like, so to get the reps in, you've stop worrying about it for any less, don't panic now. It's going to take 5 years. I think that's the bit that we get wrong a lot when it comes to like service levels is, what are you trying to build? And I think, I could talk about this stuff forever. So.
No, I agree. And genuinely, and I won't keep you too much longer because I genuinely could talk to you for hours. I'm really interested. I've been talking so much about us, hopefully, that we have shared some interesting insights.
No, all of this I think should be relevant for business. It's a good conversation, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't gone to pitch myself.
If people,
there we go. Jesus is going to do it.
And how can people find you if they want to get in touch with you? Obviously, there's a waiting list now.
It's fine. So if people want to get in touch with me, just drop me anywhere on social media. If you're at Ash Borland, I'm not on Twitter, but I am on Twitter, but I'm really not going to see me there.
Because you're not an angry old man.
Yeah, pretty much. I just can't really get my head around it.
I don't know what I've done to the algorithm, but I'm not on there. And when I'm on it, but I'm not on it. The company's on it. And when I go on, there's so much hate, and I think, what did I click on? Everything else is full of positivity,
and then that
just constantly and I was like, no,
I can't deal with it. So no, I just also, someone who's dyslexic, like that text is like, it's just a bombardment of text. So LinkedIn is best. I can imagine people listen to this because you're going to be in recruitment spaces.
All of your socials and
they'll all be there. And if you're a broker, I do have a free course you can get, which is called the Mortgage Marketing Blueprint. So if you go to free.ashborland.com, I think that'll take you there.
Send that to me, Ash, and we'll make sure it goes into the comments on the YouTube.
And that's completely free. And really, to be honest with you, that is it used to charge for it. It's very big. It's quite an intensive course. But the reality is it's just financial education for the masses, That's what it is.
we'll leave it on the financial education. Thank you very much, mate. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, listening and watching on YouTube. I appreciate everyone listening in. But thanks for your time, Ash. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.